It's a home and away doubleheader coming up next on the Journal. Hi friends, and welcome. Hey, we've got a great two-parter coming your way today. We're going to start right here in our home state of Michigan, where Tina and I are going to get in a boat and head out on a local lake for some largemouth bass fishing. And then we're going to shift gears and locales. We're going to go all the way up to Alberta, Canada, where our man Bill is in the tree with Mike Repta as he tries to take his very first ever archery black bear. But first, let's head out on the water. We're going to take the old wooden boat and try to catch some bucket mouths. Hey, I'm your host, Kyle Randall. This is my Wilderness Journal, and we're going to start a two-part doubleheader right now. Tina and I launched the old wooden boat and started fishing, and as usual... Uh-oh. What was that splashing out there? Some things never change.
There he is.
What you playing with there, girl?
Here. Well.
Hey. Figures.
What?
Opening of bass season 2 days ago.
Huh?
We were busy turkey hunting. So I said, hey, why don't we go out and just try and do a little bass fishing? It's been kind of cold. And you said...
I'll catch some.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Here he comes.
That's not a bad little bass right there.
Do this without hurting myself. Let go, let go. Oh no, come on. There we go.
All right. A new season, a new start. Some things never change. Tina catches fish.
I'll put it back.
All right. There was a hit right there.
There.
Look at there. He ate my bait. I told you there was a hit out there. That's all right. We got more. We certainly did have more baits, but I was concerned it wouldn't make any difference. The wind was really starting to pick up. You could see dark clouds growing on the horizon. I was afraid we were about to get rained out. Fortunately... There's a fish. Oh, nice fish. Come right up. That's a good one.
Yes, yeah.
Come on now, girl. Come on. Look at that. That's just like the one you caught, only bigger. All right. You done? You done? Get him on my thumb. There. See? You ain't the only one knows how to do that. I watched what you were doing and then I did that. I copied you. Just like when we were in different high schools together. That's the only way I'd ever graduate. That's a good old big one right there. Look at that girl. All done spawning, all skinnied up. Now she's just worried about eating. It's getting a little windy, but the fish are starting to bite. So we'll take that, right?
Right.
All right. Put her back. Okay. Get her. There she goes. There. See? You're not the only one that can do that. Occasionally, even a guy like me has stumbled into one. It's getting a little windy, but that's the way spring bass fishing is. It's still a whole lot more fun than not spring bass fishing. We're out here just fishing the first warm water. It's the third day of bass season in the state of Michigan, and I'm out here getting some tune-ups, some fine points, some lessons from Tina before we go up to Canada this spring. So, anything else you want to tell me, I'm all ears. That's pretty good fish right there.
You're learning.
Well, I'll listen to anything you got to say. You frequent flyers, you regular viewers, you already know Tina is a tremendous fisher person and a great fishing partner. It seems like no matter where we go or what we're fishing for, she always finds a way to get it done. So a little thing like a change in the weather, the wind coming up, you know that's not going to slow her down. Yeah, it could be some rain coming. We could use some. Oh, good fish. Something heavy. I don't know what this is, but it's You there? Oh, you know what it is?
What?
Look at there. It's a weed missile. Pike. See him there?
Yep.
Booger. Man, he hit that like he weighed 10 pounds more. He's barely hooked too, I'm gonna see. I got a pair of pliers. There's some right here. Grab my pliers. See if I can get him up alongside the boat here and just release him. You're not a bass. You know that, huh? What are you doing here? Yeah. Just knocked up my bait. There. Thanks. Sorta. Well, at least it didn't nick up my line there. But he tore that up. You don't think even little pike have teeth? Look at that. They will tear your stuff up, even them little ones. That's all right though. Catching any fish better than catching no fish, ain't it?
Oh yeah.
And besides, I think that puts me up one. Or half of one anyway. You couldn't really count that as a whole fish, but that's a pretty nice fish starter. You better throw out there and get to work. Friends, you have to know it's not too often I'm up in the fish count. And no, it didn't last long.
Come on. I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you didn't
it
take
is.
you long to catch up. There's a good
Oh,
fish.
There's one.
Yeah. You could have given me, a little bit of a break.
Why?
Fair enough. There you go. Yeah, that's a chunky little one.
Oh, I'm gonna need the.
Pliers on that one? All right, hold on.
There.
You got that one?
Yeah. Cute little thing.
Yeah, nice.
I'm gonna put it back.
All right,
All right.
show off.
Okay, go on. There you go.
That makes us even again, I think. 2-2 and you're still ahead?
No, you caught 2 bass
Yeah?
and a pike.
Oh, does that pike count?
Well, yeah, it's a fish.
It'll count when I'm telling the story later.
It's a fish.
You better get going.
I will.
All right, nicely done.
Thank you.
The fish were still biting, at least for Tina, but that weather front was really starting to close down on us. We were going to have to decide pretty soon,
about
were we
had
going to
another
keep
one.
fishing or get off the lake?
There's some fish moving here as that front comes in. They're actually starting to bite. Oop, there was a little pickup there. Uh-oh,
What was that?
I have been piked off.
You deserved it.
Oh, thanks.
Is gone. That's what you get when a big old pike comes by and says, hey, I'll eat that. Hey, do me a favor, would you? Cast out there and get that fish and bring me my jig back. I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, over there.
No, he went this way.
You went that way, huh? You don't want that pike biting your jig, do you?
No.
You're pretty smart. Even though Tina wasn't doing much to help me retrieve my missing tackle, we were still having a nice evening. Just kind of watching the wildlife. The storm was blowing through. And sooner or later, I figured for sure the fishing would pick up again. And even if it didn't, we were still having a great evening. And I was just beginning to think that evening might be over when... Oh, look at you. Uh-oh. Automatic hook disgorger.
Yes, and he took my tail.
That's the quick release followed by the mauled bait.
Pretty much.
Well, they can't all be perfect.
Oh, he took the best part.
Took the only good part, didn't he?
Yes.
All right, well, you fish with the rest.
Oh, okay. No.
With that, I thought, well, maybe it ain't over. Not yet. And then...
Oh, there's one. Oh, just hammered it. Does it come up near the surface? He picked it right off. There's a nicer bass. There's a little bit nicer one. What do you think of that? That's what we was looking for.
Oh, he's cute.
That's a little bit... Oh, I thought he was done. Come here, buddy.
There he's coming toward the boat. Come here. You about done? Oh, there, get up on my hand. There we go. There. Get back into the bass, the crappie, the bluegills, the pike, everything. We haven't caught a walleye yet. It's all right. Just a Saturday afternoon bass fishing thing. That's all right. That's not quite a keeper bass, but we don't keep them anyway. So I'm gonna put her back. She'll get bigger. There, we'll put her back. Well, there. That's what we come for. That little bit of a storm blew through. Fish are starting to bite again. Hopefully, the big ones will turn on, but if they don't, it's still a pleasure.
Always.
Well, our day was getting a little long in the tooth, but I knew better than to ask Tina if she'd had enough yet, especially when she was still one down in the fish count.
Oh, looks like a fish to me. Yeah, let me zoom in. He's kind of small.
Stop it.
Yeah. That's a fish.
It's a cracker fish.
Yeah. Oh, unless you brought some crackers, you best put him back.
I didn't.
All right.
Okay, we'll put it back. Come on. Yeah. Come on, be nice.
All right.
Oh.
Well, hopefully that means they're starting to hit again. Yeah, he kind of kicked your bait, didn't
Yeah, put another one on.
he? All right.
That little storm blew through and it was actually turning into a very pleasant evening. The fish were still biting. That's the important part. The only thing I could see being a problem now was much too soon this day was going to be over.
Here's a fish. He's not big, but he thinks he is. Oh, not bad. Yeah. Come up here. You had enough? Maybe? Come here. Maybe not. You see that big old chunk of minnow come out of his throat there? He's feeding. Yeah. Hey, bass. One each. Size kind of small. It's all right. We'll take them.
That was graceful.
Thank you. You like that, did you?
Yeah.
I also do children's parties and bar mitzvahs. That's all right. We're bass fishing and we're catching bass. See that one? That's a little one right there.
Well, as the sun set, we finally decided to go find some dinner, but friends, I have to admit, as I was pulling the old wooden boat up out of the water, I thought to myself, this indeed is how to make a memory. My friends, that was a great evening spent with my very best fishing gal on a local lake, something that anyone and everyone can do, certainly in the Midwest. I want to thank again Tina and everybody, get out there, give that a shot. It is a great way to spend an afternoon any chance you get. Now let's shift those gears. Let's get out of the boat and into a tree stand with Mike Ripta as he tries to harvest his first ever black bear with archery gear. And from what I can tell after looking at Bill's footage, the hardest part of this hunt was going to be choosing. Mike's very first night on stand, a dandy bear walked out to the bait. And then a smaller bear followed it. This was a big old sow with a 2-year-old cub. The pair fed for a short time and then became nervous, to the point where they finally actually left the clearing. And not long after they left, another bear worked its way in behind the bait. This looked like a dandy, heavy, good coat. This might just be the bear. Mike had his bow in his hand. He was ready. He just stood there watching the bear feeding at the edge of the opening, and then the bear laid down. There was just enough brush. He couldn't take a shot. All he could do was just wait, and he did. right up until the bear turned around and just walked back into the woods. And then, just before dark, that sow and cub came working their way back into the bait. It was becoming pretty clear this site was this sow and cub's preferred feeding area. They worked their way back into the bait, took it over, and started feeding again. It did appear that they were still a little bit nervous, and that gave Mike some hope that sooner or later maybe that big boar had come back. Mike sat silently watching the pair feed as the last few moments of this day ticked by, and then, when the sow picked up a piece of meat and carried it off into the woods, Mike thought maybe. Unfortunately, one small boar was the only other bear that came in that night.
We got one out on the bait. We're just kind of waiting to get set up here. Of course, had good success so far. Seen a lot of bears. I haven't had a shot yet, but we got 3 in camp over 300 pounds. So should be a good night. Got a little breeze and give it a whirl.
Yeah, we just walked in here and he was there.
The guys had decided to try a different stand location, and this young boar was obviously laying on the bait, as we like to call it, sitting there just in the brush waiting for the food to come to him. It's one of the things that when you're out bear hunting you have to watch out for, because sometimes, well, let's just say sometimes, getting between a bear and his food isn't in your best interest. The guys watched as this bear worked his way around the bait several times and then finally wandered back into the woods. Mike had already decided he wasn't a shooter, at least not at this point in his hunt. There was a pretty good bear at that bait that evening, but Mike decided he was gonna wait. With 3 days left to hunt and all that action, he wasn't worried. He didn't want to be in a hurry. At least not yet. The following evening, the guys were watching another pretty good-sized sow with a half-grown cub. The sow wasn't really feeding much. She was more standing guard as the cub played around and fed a little. He would roll in the meat scraps and then go over and fuss with the bait can. But the sow seemed really nervous. She would work her way back and forth, check on him, then go back to the bait again. And then the guys noticed something circling in through the woods right up underneath their stand. This bear had come up right underneath the guys, and watched just how carefully he placed his feet so as not to make any noise. He was trying to sneak in when he encountered the guys. This obviously wasn't a mature bear, certainly not a dominant animal. He was just slowly working his way around, hoping to get something to eat without getting his butt whooped by that sow. The guys watched as he made an entire circle all the way around the bait and then worked his way down fairly close, but seemed real reluctant to come in and get himself something to eat. And as it turned out, that reluctance was well placed. That sow obviously meant business. That type of tooth and claw aggression, that's the real deal. And it's the reason we regularly tell you to stay clear of sows with cubs, even partially grown ones. They're extremely dangerous, and you just never know what's going to set them off. The following evening, the guys had been on stand for about an hour when...
From the right, Bill.
This looked like a pretty good boar. And Mike had already made up his mind if he gave him a shot, he was gonna take it. Unfortunately, he wasn't. Giving him a shot, I mean. He would sit with his rump to Mike, and then when he finally did get up and turn, he faced head on. There was no decent broadside shot. Mike had already watched one good boar walk away, and it looked like it was about to happen again. And then the bear turned back again.
Hey.
This time Bill stopped him and he missed. But the bear didn't run. He heard the noise. He just stood there looking around. Now Mike had to get another arrow and try to get his nerve under control. For his part, the bear didn't seem to be too concerned. He was just going about trying to get himself something to eat again, but I promise you, Mike was having a tornado of emotions spinning in his head trying to get that arrow on. The bear was still there, sitting broadside, so now it was on Mike again. And this time, his arrow found the mark.
Good job, Mike. Good job.
And that made it finally time for Mike to go collect his bear.
We got him. Clean pass through. Went about 10 yards. Nice bear.
Great bear.
I missed him on the first shot, but the second one I put her home.
Good job, buddy.
Congratulations, Mike, on your very first archery black bear and on making a great second shot, I might add. That's something that's not easy to do under all that pressure, and you did it admirably. Hey, I want to thank to our man Bill for going along so we could share that. Friends, whether it's going up to Canada or something close to home, getting into the out of doors, just spending your time with good friends and loved ones, it is absolutely some of the best tonic for a weary soul that I'm aware of. And I truly hope that each and every one of you gets out there and shares a little bit of it with your friends and loved ones. And who knows, you just might run into us out there doing the same thing. And if you do, well, you know we're going to stop and share a cup and a fire, maybe a few stories. And if we don't see you out there, friends, well, then we'll be right here, waiting to share another adventure from My Wilderness Journal.